That's what we lived on. And other pelts that we use that I have over at my display here. But we would eat garfish. We would eat turtle soups. And, one time Grandma had made some soup, turtle soup, and I was scooping it out. And when I scooped it out, there was a hand like that. It was the turtle. But we were used to that. We ate, it's like no different than eating chicken wings. When you eat chicken wings, you know what you're eating, right? So, but anyways, it depends on the environment, the society, the societal norms that we are raised in and that we expect and we live by. So we were no different. My mom, my grandparents, nobody disrespected anybody. They treated people as the way they wanted to be treated. And I saw that. I lived it. And I am so blessed to have been able to experience that at a young age. Because believe me, when I was introduced into the dominant society, I learned some things that I have to unlearn. The color of my skin, the language that I speak. Everything that we're all different, but we're all uniquely the same as well. Sorry, I'm always going on tangents.
No. Let's go back to your grandparents' camp. Can you describe the camp? What a tree island was like? Was this in a Chiki? How did they deal with mosquitoes? Where was the fire?
I didn't grow up on the tree islands like my brother. My brother and my older sisters were raised and born out in the tree islands. However, I was the lucky one. I was born in a hospital, so I think I was probably the most pain because you got to lay down and push the baby out, not just squat down and the baby comes out. So, my grandpa, when he was still able to see, he used to pull down towards Big Cypress from Miccosukee to Big Cypress area. It wasn't a reservation yet. We weren't federally recognized as a tribe until 1958. So during that time, he would come down and he was able to make a farming where he would raise crops. He would come check on them. He would take it back to us, not to us because I wasn't born here. But eventually, he ended up staying there, and his disease and his blindness ended up taking full effect. So when I was born, he was already blind. Grandma did everything. I still see her. I still respect her. I still love her, and I appreciate the grandmas today. I respect all living life because if I disrespect you, I'm disrespecting me as part of the human race. That's how I look at it. That's for me, for my peace of mind, for my spirituality, my philosophy, the way I was raised, the way life was meant for me. But it was not easy living in two different worlds. Am I rejected? Am I accepted? Should I be over here? Should I not be over here? So I understand how other races feel. I understand how disabled person is, disabled veteran, and on the same thing, since we're Memorial Weekend, I respect that. I'm glad that that's in place to respect that. And that's why you see me up here with my Seminole War reenactment. I also participate in second Seminole War reenactments at different locations. We have them where the actual wars took place, or the battles. And when I do that, I always say a little prayer for my fallen people that fell. So I respect the love that's there to say, that's why we're here. Because I get it. So, but yeah, you're right.
Well, you mentioned a little while ago about tales your grandfather told. Do you recall any of those? Stories or tales that your grandfather told when you were young?
What about them?
Do you recall any? Could you share some with us?
These are long, lengthy tales because there are morals in there. So I don't know if we have that much time.
Maybe tomorrow we'll start off with that and we'll just let it go.
Yeah.
So what kind of food did your grandmother cook? Well, other than turtle soup with
Turtle, rice, I almost said bison, venison, curlews, hogs, a lot of fish. The diet was very good. My mom, sometimes I talk to her and she talks about being able to drink water as the water was flowing from Lake Okeechobee into the Tree Islands. You know, one day my mom told me about, I always talk to her, she's got dementia, she's blind, and she has hearing aids. She's bedridden most of the time. So I talk to her in our language, and she always talks about different things. But one day she told me about the making of the National Everglades out in Miami area. The park out there. They were living out there in 1947. My mom was born in 1940, so she was 7 years old, a young girl. But she remembers people coming around measuring the line where the park was going to be. And she remembers being asked to move because they couldn't make the reservation, not the reservation, excuse me, the park lines. She remembers little things like that. And she was telling me, she said, I remember when it was so hot and we could just get off the Tree Island and just drink the water. It was so good and fresh and cool and refreshing. And when I hear stories like that, it takes me back to the time where when I was a kid and I enjoyed those things, running around in the woods, being a kid, you know? So I grew up without a dad. And so I have a little 9-year-old daughter that I try to raise to be a dad. I wanted to be a dad that I didn't have. And when I talk to kids, that's what I tell them. I said, it's okay not to be okay. You know, it's all right. You don't have to try to fit in because she's 9 years old and she's feeling that pressure right now. And I think we feel all that pressure all till our time expired, right? I mean, even at work, at school, at the red light, Walmart, somebody running you over trying to get in there. So it's everything's a learning experience. We all have choices, and I'm glad you guys are here, and I got to spend a little bit of time with you.
Are you teaching your daughter the language of your ancestors? And
That's a very a difficult situation, and when like the term we hear, it takes a village to raise a child. Believe me, it does. Not only does it start in the home, people like to leave it there, but it doesn't. It starts from the home, okay, yeah, it does. However, it's going to be at the store, it's going to be at the school, it's going to be at the library. No matter where you go, you need to constantly hear it. You know, so I teach her colors, minimum what I can do, whatever I can get her away from the monitor, you know. But yeah, it's that's a challenge that I think a lot of brothers and sisters throughout the island faces.
And because your society is matriarchal, does your daughter have a relationship with her grandmother then? Does she understand that relationship with the women in your family? I know she's only 9 years old, but...
Yeah, she understands. I explained to her that, you know, you're not going to be 9 years old forever. I remember when Mom used to be get around. So I explained everything to her. I try to paint the pictures that my grandpa painted for me so that she can understand. And I usually do that at nighttime before she goes to bed when I'm laying there with her without her tablet. I say, go brush your teeth, baby, let's go. You know, we're going to lay down. And she has her own room. I go over there and lay down and make sure she sleeps and I leave. But that's my time when I can kind of tell her what I think she should be aware of and what I think she should know. And we live a little bit out of the community, so we got a little bit drive to the community, about 5 minutes if I'm not in a hurry. So that's also another time for me to talk to her. And I talk to her about It's you that's going to decide if you're going to have a good day or not. Not that person's talking about you, unless that has no power over you, unless you give it power. And if you don't give it power, guess what? I heard something somewhere about, okay, they were talking about, okay, think about a full moon. Okay, let it go. Think about an oak tree on a riverbank. Let it go. Think about a red circle. Let it go. It's the same thing. I don't let those control me. The world control me if I let it. So it's up to me. That's what I mean when I tell my daughter, it's up to you if you're gonna have a good day or not. So it's an unlearned behavior, unlearned thoughts, unlearned environment that I create for me when I come around. So I learned all of that from my grandparents because we had different people coming for different medicinal healings. And my grandma, her interaction with everybody, she always had food ready to eat because she grew up in the Tree Islands out in Lake Osuki where you could see people coming to you and you had time to prepare. And Mom and Grandma did that. And yes, the earth. That's what I think the theme is, earth. And it's, you can't get much more personal. And what I mean by personal is that all I am is one little grain of sand. And all I know is when my time expires, I'm going back to that sand that creates what we call Mother Earth.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Tommie? Have to get down.
How did you learn to make the dugout canoes?
There's a little story behind it, but I worked at a travel office, you know. I didn't dress like this. I had eyes, right? I shopped at Neiman Marcus. But I didn't like how the politics was going because I had to hand out, or I had to award contracts, lawn, plumbing, all of this stuff. But politics got involved. I didn't like where it was going. Put in my 2 weeks resignation, and I ended up leaving there, and I was making good money. But I went over there where I was making $15 an hour. But I got to get into my reenactment, and that's where my canoe carving came in. And that's about 9 years ago. I made my first canoe. And gave it to my mom. She still has it in her cabinet. You know, I have to tell you about my first 2 canoes that I carved. The first one I carved, a little small one, easy to carve because the wood was green and easy to cut. And I had a brand new knife from woodcraft.com. And that's where I shop at. If you carve, check it out. So they came in, all but down to the post office, got it, went and cut a little tree, and I carved it. I carved a nice little looking canoe in about 2 hours. And I said, man, what's with this canoe carving business? That's nothing. I got this. Stop the world, right? I got an announcement. The canoe carver has arrived, right? So I've got that same mentality. I think I know what I'm doing. I think I got this. I know everything. Nobody can tell me anything. So I carve another canoe. Nothing. I promise you and guarantee you. Nothing like what I was trying to get at. So what do? I put it away. I put it away with the rest of our Christmas decorations and all the annual things that nobody sees except a couple weeks of the year, right? So I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll keep it. But one year, I was taking them down, and my wife now, Melissa, she called me, and she was like, what is that? And I said, it's canoe. And she was like, wow, by that time I had accumulated about 7, 8, or 9 over here. They had their own little spot. And she's like, why is it doing over here? Why isn't it over there? And I didn't tell her. She just said, why don't you put it over there? And I said, because it's not what I intended. It doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like. She said, well, put it over there. And she was pretty adamant, so I said, reluctantly, I agreed. And she said, you can look at it and see the progress you've made. how far you can, right? So I see it when I walk into the shed. I see it when I'm doing a presentation. And so one day, I don't know what got into me, but I took it to Dade City, and it was during the COVID time when everybody's wearing masks. And homeschool came up, and I was talking to them, and I mentioned I just happened to have my second canoe, so I said I made my first one and did my second one. They thought I knew what I was doing, and I messed up, but I brought it here. And the mom, she was like, "There's an awesome lesson in there," and that got me to thinking. And I said, "There most certainly was, and is, because that lesson is." I thought I knew everything when I carved that second canoe. So when I talk to kids at school, I tell them, I said, if you did something, said something that you shouldn't have, and you put it away somewhere in the back of your mind, back of your heart, that you don't want no one to see, you don't want to tell anybody, I said, you're not going to grow and mature psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, until you deal with that. So I had to do that. So my first two canoes was very important to me because I said, I got this, man. And the second canoe said, no, you don't. You don't know anything. So that kind of taught me that when I say I don't know much or I don't know anything about whatever it is, then I'm free to listen, not act like I know everything. Because when I do, I'm going to carve the same canoe again. So, and that's life. I applied to life.
If you haven't noticed, Mr. Tommie has a partially carved cypress log canoe back there that he's working on. I suspect it won't be finished by tomorrow.
I'm hoping in 30 minutes.
Which 30 minutes?
Times.
So you taught yourself more or less how to do this.
Yeah.
Have you seen other carvers?
I'm kind of self-taught because, like I said, I turned 62 in May 16th, and when I went to a Dr. Q Museum, that's where I started carving, and I continued. I look at our pictures, some of the pictures that are on the internet. You could just, the ladies in the back, they could just reach over and touch the water, and I knew, I don't consider myself an artist. I didn't create that. The oldest known canoe that's been carbon dated is 11,000 years old. So all I'm doing is pushing it along. And I hope somebody will see that and acknowledge that and do that. So as I look at those, and we have some canoes at the museum where I work at. So I kind of check it out. And then I talk to my Itkapani. Itkapani is male counterparts of your dad's clan. In this case, my dad, Harry Clay, is an Otter clan. So Bobby Clay is probably one of our oldest, or pretty much older, tribal elder. So I talk to him, and he tells me a great deal. So, you know, I have to tell you that when I was, as my progress was going and my canoes were getting bigger, I would show it to him, and I would expect him to say, "Wow, look at that! That's so awesome." He'd look at it and he'd just say, "Okay, don't stop, keep going. I want to see more progress." So I've accepted that as a thumbs up. So but I do talk to him, and I do look at pictures, and then I do look at the canoes that I've made previous, and that's my biggest one so far. And what I'm finding out is that there are two versions of canoe carving. One is the carved canoe that looks like a canoe, which is where I'm at. And now I have to make that canoe float. That's where the buoyancy, balance, the thickness of the walls. I'm having where I want the water line to be once it sets inside, because I don't want to be exposed too much. Or not. So yeah, I have all these questions that I need to figure out quick.
I think we're reaching our time, and I'd like to thank you all for your attention. Especially thank Mr. Tommie,
You're welcome.
for being with us today. We will be back here again tomorrow with more insights into life, knowledge, background that he can bring us. And as I mentioned, he is at his table and we'll be glad to speak with you for the next half hour. Thank you for joining us at the Folklife tent. Have a good afternoon.
Shanabish.